Okay, everyone, welcome back to another episode of Down the Line. I'm Bert. We got Stanzo here too. We got a lot to cover in baseball. We're entering the home stretch. A lot of teams fighting for that second wild card spot, both in the AL and the NL. Some teams running away with their division for the most part. Most of the division leads, I'd say, feel pretty safe, with the exception of maybe the NL East and the NL West. But I mean, that's kind of the NL West is a whole different story just with how all those powerhouses there. But we're going to start off with the New York Yankees, who have been an interesting team all year, to say the least. Right now, we're beating up on the Orioles a little bit, 5-0 in the fourth inning. They're coming off a 1-out-of-3 win series against the New York Mets. Terrible Friday night game. Awful Sunday night game, great Saturday night game. So a little good baseball sandwich there for the New York Yankees. But I mean, this stretch coming up is crucial. Nick, what are your thoughts on where the Yankees are at right now?
I mean, they managed to almost undo the 13-game win streak. I mean, you lose 2 of 3 of the Orioles at home. That feels like a while ago now. Those were our last couple days down the shore. They were losing. They blew a lead with Andrew Heaney on Sunday after Gary Sanchez grand slam. I said they need to sweep the Orioles the rest of the way through, go 6-0. They're 1-2 currently. Hopefully they can right the ship with these 3 games that are going on right now. Not great. Then they get swept at home by the Blue Jays, who you and I both agree we're going to have to talk about next separately because they're their own separate entity at this point, just the way they've been going 9-1 in their last 10. And then lose 2 or 3 to the Mets, which that was a great series. We'll definitely touch on that too. I mean, we were at the Saturday game, 9/11 20th anniversary. It was awesome. But again, losing 2 of 3 to a team in the Mets that you really shouldn't be losing 2 of 3 against. I don't care where the games are. So they've done a lot to undo the work that they did over the past couple of weeks and months. So September has not been a good month for them whatsoever.
No, I mean, and you talk about undoing that 13-game win streak, and I've been thinking a lot about that because I mean I even want to expand it to like a lot of people were talking like that. What was it, like that 35-11 stretch that they've been throwing around a lot too, like even before that 13-game win streak or as part of that 13-game win streak, and like okay, the 13-game win streak that can be undone with 6-7 bad games, going to 6-game losing streak, 13-6. It's not as good obviously as 30, but I'm like, all right, let's go to a bigger scale in that 35-11. Now they're 4-12 in their last 16. I mean, and that feels more undone, like that great big stretch of the whole second half. It felt like up until September, I feel has been undone because now they're back in the spot where it's like, are they making the playoffs? For up until this stretch, it was like, okay, Yankee fans, Yankee players, take a breath. We're going to be in the playoffs. Like, we don't have to worry about this anymore. They're playing well. Maybe they'll regress a little bit, but we're probably going to find ourselves in the first or second wild card spot. Second wild card spot felt like worst case scenario, like 2 weeks ago, and now it's like, well, I mean, it's like shit. Like I feel almost lucky to be in the playoffs at this point. I mean, obviously, yes, we still hold the second wild card spot, but that's not guaranteed. I mean, we're tied, or it changes day by day, obviously, like half games and all that. Like it just, I don't feel confident anymore that this team is going to make the playoffs. I feel obviously so much less confident than I did 2 weeks ago, but not even to the point where it's like I think they deserve to be in the playoffs. They don't.
No, and here's the thing too that really does scare me is that their last 9 games are against divisional opponents, and they've done a horrible job against their division this year. They've been a lot better against the Rays since they started off 1-5 against them, but I mean, they're still obviously a tough team. And I was talking to my friends about this the other day. I don't know if you were in this conversation or not. I think this was a little before you came. Regardless, if the Rays have everything locked up by that last 3 games of the series, which they almost certainly will, Kevin Cash is going to want to play the spoiler and try and knock the Yankees either back a spot or out of the playoffs, whatever. He's going to go balls to the wall like it's his team to clinch a playoff spot. So you can't take any solace in that. There's 3 more at Fenway, 3 on the road against the Blue Jays. They've both been tough for us this year. It's really just inexcusable losing series at home to the Orioles. You look at what the Rays did this year, 18-1 against them, and we're losing a series at home. So it's just, it sucks. Like you said, they had put themselves in a position where they were solidly in a playoff spot. Now it's very much up in the air.
Yeah, and like, even the Mets series is what makes me really upset, because besides the fact that the crosstown rivals, and I do feel like the rivalry got renewed a little bit. I mean, I feel like they've almost it's like we say it all the time, the little brother. There's not as much of a rivalry more than it is exciting and a cool atmosphere, like the Jets and Giants. It's not a rivalry. It's just cool that it's the two New York teams. But I felt like this year with the Lindor, the Baez things on Sunday Night Baseball, Stanton coming back at them, the dugouts clearing, like, hey, like this is fun, this is exciting. That was a chance, and especially the way Saturday night went, where it was a really good, well fought win with with your guy Aaron Judge hitting 2 home runs in a crazy atmosphere. Like you wanted a great game. Sunday night was a chance to capitalize off of that, off of a rivalry situation, take some momentum, and take it into this Orioles series and the rest of these series, and have something to look forward to, and feel like you're playing good baseball. But now it's like every time I feel like there's a chance for them to gain momentum, they stop it in their tracks. And that's not even Aaron Boone punting games, which is typically what stops their momentum. This is just underperformance, which has been the crux of the entire season. It's been Aaron Boone punting, and it's been a heavy amount of underperformance by the Yankees. And that just not even wins lost. It kills the momentum that you have when you have big wins.
Yes.
That's what upset me most about the Mets series.
No, absolutely. And you and I early in the season, April, May, we're pointing to, I remember you had specifically said, like, Aaron Boone can't be putting out these punt lineups or punting 2-run games when you have a win streak going, because it makes it seem like you can't get over that hump and keep ripping off wins that kills your momentum. That's not the case.
13-game win streak. How many times have we referred back to that? Like, how many times is that in the Yankees' head? Hey, we can do this. Aaron Boone, the beginning of the season, just we won two. The first two. Who cares about the third?
Sorry. Exactly. And that hasn't been the case. You guys, his lineups have mostly been consistent. You could nitpick here and there. There's maybe a couple games, Andrew Heaney shouldn't be getting into,
or any.
It is what it is. The bottom line of what's really happened with this Yankee team is two things. One, when they slump, everyone slumps at the same time. Thank God, knock on wood, it seems like Judge and Stanton are out of it, because this team goes as those two guys go. I don't care. You can have plenty of debates. I think this year is pretty much solidified. They're the two best hitters on the team. They're two of the better hitters in baseball. They're streaky guys. When they're on, the team will play well. When they're not, the rest of the team will apparently not play well either. No one ever picks them up. So whatever. That's one. And then two, the pitching staff is just shot. And I you can't even put this on Aaron Boone, because it's just like, how many guys have we gotten nothing from? Like, just in general, you look at all the injuries. Tyone is hurt now. Herman and Sevy look like they're finally come back. Kluber just got back. Nola Weisga kills them. Chad Green has been overworked out of necessity. Zach Britton gave you nothing this year. You got nothing from O'Day and Wilson, your two free agent relievers. So the pitching has been really awesome all year. I just saw a stat. The Yankees are 51-13, I believe, and games they score 5 or more runs. That's really good.
Yeah.
But they're shot. It's halfway through September, and a lot of these guys are. Chad Green especially. They're just tired. Like, they really are.
He's gonna be a show of himself. I mean, you saw it. I was specifically watching it on Saturday because I was curious what he was actually hitting out of the bullpen in terms of his fastball. I mean, he was in like the 94, 95, max 96 range. Like, look, for a guy that's fastball slider, and his fastball is his out pitch in pretty much every scenario. The slider is almost just like a show pitch half the time.
Yeah.
For a guy that relies on his fastball, and not even his speed, but location as well. I mean, sorry, this is not early 2000s, 1990s, where it's like 95 is going to cut it. Like, in order to be a higher leverage reliever, you need more than just location. You need to be in the 97, 98 range to be what Chad Green is supposed to be. Like, yeah, sure, it's a viable reliever if it's some other team and you're coming out of the 6th, you're going for long relief, whatever it is. But like, to be in a Chad Green type role, like, he's overworked, and his fastball speed is clearly indicative of that. So I mean, it's a problem, and their bullpen, Loizaga going down, is a huge problem. I mean, have you heard anything on his injury?
No, I haven't.
He might be coming back, but I haven't heard too much.
I feel like just the lack of what we've heard, how close the playoffs are. I'm honestly just at this point just hoping he can avoid surgery and it's nothing too serious. But I mean, it's like, outside of like the big names like the Cole, the Judge, the Stanton, like Jonathan Loizaga is like probably one of the most top 5 most important guys to this team, just the role he's been used in and how effective he's been all year. So the playoff chances as a whole are pretty bleak, but if he's not going to come back at all, even if they get into October, I'm going to have just a completely different outlook on this team, which sucks. And I mean, Chad Green, like you said it, he has the off speed. He's a one pitch pitcher. Essentially, he's a fastball pitcher. He's going to give you his best fastball. You're going to know it's coming, and it's going to beat you, 95% of the time, or at least that's the case. But now his arm is a little shot. Lose a couple miles per hour. It's not the same. So I want to be mad at Chad Green, but at the same time, I can't. I got to be mad at the rest of the bullpen for putting him in this spot where it's September 14th. He's completely burned out.
Yeah, I mean, what was the stat? I think it was, I forget who tweeted it. It was 70 something innings in 57 games or something like that, or the other way around.
74 innings, 59 appearances, or something like that. I mean, he's just been absolutely. He's the modern day Scott Proctor. That's what everyone's been saying. It's honestly true.
Like that's on pace to say he's pitched every other game, like that's or every other game in terms of innings. If you quantify it as a reliever, generally pitches 1 inning per appearance. Like, I mean, that's not easy to do, to get up and down that many times. Yeah, your fastball is going to drop. So, I mean, I'm not trying to, I mean, Chad Green hasn't been good. I'm not going to beat around that.
No,
I don't think he's the guy that would beat around that either. But I mean, there's a reason why, and it's indicative of the whole rest of the team. And it's not, I hate saying it's not his fault, because at the end of the day, he is the one giving up the hits, but it's a team sport. You got to give him a little help.
Yeah. They need to come to the realization that he's not the Chad Green we all know, and stop giving him the high leverage opportunities he would otherwise deserve. But at the same time, this isn't like an Aroldis Chapman situation where I'm like, dude, just fucking throw strikes. It's literally like he is just fried, and that's not on him.
Yeah. So another reason why I'm concerned about the state of the New York Yankees is the Toronto Blue Jays. I mean, they are good right now. For a long time, in our division, outside of the Rays, which is they've just been good all year. I was mostly concerned about the state of the Red Sox. I was watching them a lot more, but the Blue Jays have made a surge over the past month, I'd say, where they have solidified themselves as one of the best teams in baseball. And this is why I say that, because for a long time it was just like, oh, they don't have the pitching, but they have the offense. This is their run differential in terms of MLB leaders right now. So the Dodgers are first by a wide margin, plus 238. Astros plus 192, Giants plus 182, and the Blue Jays are fourth in baseball in terms of run differential at plus 174. I mean, the Rays are right behind them, I think, at 170. But I mean, they're the fourth best team in baseball. I mean, if you want, I think run differential is a very easy, simplified stat in order to determine that you're beating teams by this much. Maybe the 22-4 game the other day obviously had a lot to do with that. But for the most part, they've been crushing teams and they've been pitching well. The 4 good pitchers that they actually have are Ryu, Robbie Ray, Berrios, and Manoah. I mean, that's like, for a long time, I was worried about them actually having a solid rotation. They have a solid rotation right now.
Yeah, I'm sure if you go back to clips of us like doing our preview in baseball, like some of my old tweets, like I remember specifically shitting on the Blue Jays, but for one very specific reason. Like I always knew this lineup was going to hit. I think everyone knew that. You look at the names up and down, and then especially Springer having the year he's had. Marcus Semien is probably going to finish top 5 in MVP voting. He's been unbelievable. I actually had one of my old takes. I re-exposed myself today. I was right every once in a while that Vlad Jr. was going to have a big year, which wasn't hard to see, but he was one of those guys that people want to preemptively slap the bust label on just because he wasn't doing what Soto or Tatis did right when they came up. So Vlad Jr., obviously Bichette, Biggio, Teoscar Hernandez, Lourdes Gurriel are 2 of the most underrated players in all of baseball just because of all the other guys in that lineup. Those guys are both unbelievable, and they hit like 6th and 7th because this lineup is ridiculous. Everyone knew they were going to hit, but you said it, the pitching came out of nowhere. Like I was arguing with Blue Jays fans. I was like, Ryu is good and what else? And they were trying to talk up like Nate Pearson to me. I'm like,
he hasn't even been a factor really. Yeah.
I'm not. Yeah. I was like, I'm not seeing it, but Robbie Ray finally figures out how to consistently throw strikes and make use of his stuff, which I did not see coming. Robbie Ray, again, a guy that's going to finish in the top 3 in the Cy Young voting. They trade for Berrios, who everyone knows the middle of the rotation difference maker. He's not an ace, but as a 2-3, you sign for it. And then Alek Manoah as a rookie is nasty. So that lineup, those 4 starting pitchers, and they've been able to piece together the bullpen, they're dangerous. They're legitimately dangerous.
There's no way anyone expected Robbie Ray in his tight pants to be the type of player that he is. I mean, if you would have told me at the beginning of the season Robbie Ray was going to finish top 3, I would have. I mean, that's year of the pitcher right there. As much as we've slammed home all the no hitters. I mean, the Brewers had another one the other day. They combined for one. Year of the pitcher is Robbie Ray. Yeah, fuck combined no hitters. That's the biggest BS ever. But Robbie Ray finishing top 5 in the Cy Young is the biggest indication of year of the pitcher I've ever seen. That guy, for all the good stuff that he has, he is not a top 5 Cy young guy. That's like Kente Maeda finishing 2nd last year. I think he did. Like, that's like, come on, that will never happen again. It's an enigma. And when this happens again next year, you can take this a little clip right here of me roasting Robbie Ray. That it'll never happen again when it happens again.
Clint Frazier for Robbie Ray was a rumor for like literally 3 years straight. It was like every offseason or deadline. It's like Diamondbacks like Clint Frazier, Yankees like Robbie Ray.
I mean, I remember Robbie Ray was like the name of the deadline. Like you said, like for like 4 years, then it was like free agency. We're going to get Robbie Ray. And then it was like, nah, who needs him? He doesn't know how to throw strikes. And to our credit, he didn't know how to throw strikes then. But I mean, I guess guy figured it out. Now he's a strikeout machine too. I think it's every year his pants got tighter, so he got better.
Yeah, I think that's what I think he needed to stimulate the blood flow a little bit. Maybe
it helps with the grip. Yeah,
it's got to be something like that. We need a sports science on Robbie Ray's pants and how that makes him throw more strikes.
There's no way he doesn't wear that tight of pants for a reason. You don't do that. Like, you don't do skin tight baseball pants, like skin tight, like not even like regular, just like tight baseball pants. Like, those are ridiculous. You don't do those type of pants if it's not for a reason, whether it's superstition, extreme comfort, whatever that could mean, or just like any other odd baseball reason. He's doing that for some type of, this is making me feel better when I'm on the mound, because there's no way no one in that Blue Jays clubhouse has told him that he looks ridiculous.
Oh,
it's absurd.
He looks absolutely ridiculous. It's not even, it's like a douchebag move where it's like, all right, you got to respect that the guy pulls it off. No, he looks like a total asshole. There needs to be some kind of reasoning behind that.
That's what I'm saying. Like, you don't go out and make it yourself like an absolute fool, unless, like, I mean, clearly it's working this year. But I want to go back and like do an evaluation of the Robbie Ray pants trends over the year. I think it's gonna be like a one-off series.
I want to do some, yeah. We'll do a deep dive into this. I need to know more about how his pants got him into the top 3 in the Cy Young vote, because there's no other reason behind it.
I can't see any other reason. But no, the Blue Jays, it feels like they're sort of like, you know, that Jason Momoa meme where it's like him coming up behind the guy, and it's like the guy in the suit standing right there. It's like the Blue Jays are Jason Momoa, and the rest of the MLB is the guy standing there safely in the suit, and they are just coming up to attack the MLB. And I mean, they're legit. I see no reason why they can't make a splash in the playoffs.
Is it fucked up of me that like 3 good weeks of Blue Jays baseball and I already buy into them way more than I've ever bought into the Rays? Like, I'm convinced. I don't think I think they might just need to move out of the Trop. Like, either they need to win a World Series or move out of the Trop, because I cannot take that baseball team seriously. And I get, as a Yankee fan, I get it. They've knocked us out of the playoffs. They went to the World Series last year. They're 8 games up in first place right now. I get that I should respect the Rays. I think I just choose not to.
I think the talent on the Jays is more identifiable, if that makes sense. Like, I said this a couple weeks ago, and since then, I mean, it's kind of been a little bit more clear. Wander Franco's having, you know, a good year. Nelson Cruz obviously doing pretty well. Brandon Loud just having a good year as well. But like I said, I'm like, where is their like MVP sort of in a way for the Rays? Like, what, like, where are all these wins so consistently coming from that they are this much better than the rest of the pack? With the Blue Jays, it's much easier to just point to people, be like Simeon, Guerrero, Robbie Ray, you know, like Ryu, like all these guys. It's like so easy to just like look at the numbers and be like, this is why they're good. With the Rays, it's like you have to look deeper.
No, the talent slaps you in the face with the Blue Jays. Yeah. With the Rays, it's just like, I don't know. I still don't even know. They're good.
Fuck. Moving over to the rest of baseball, I'm just pulling up the NL wild card standings. Okay, they're actually closer than I thought. So I wanted to talk about the St. Louis Cardinals and the fact that they are not even a dark horse to make the playoffs. We have not talked about them, except for maybe bringing up Arenado a few times, maybe Yadi Molina here and there, and to insult J.A. Happ when he got traded there. I think that's the only times we've talked about the Cardinals throughout the entire season. They are not even a dark horse. They were an invisible horse. They are 0.5 out of the second wild card spot. 0.5
when did this happen? Like
That's
I was looking,
mean.
like they're 5-5 in their last 10. It's not like they like what like I'm so confused.
I think the Cardinals, and they feel like they do this every year where they're never the team, but they always just find themselves like, oh, like whoops, we're in the playoffs type thing. Like it's like, oh, wait, we just happened to make the wild card game. And last year I'm pretty sure they got creamed by the Braves, if I'm not mistaken. Like Flaherty got like lit up in the wild card game. Does that sound right? I think that was last year. The COVID year is a little blurry to me.
Last year they lost. They had a 3-game series in San Diego, and I want to say they won game 1 and they lost the next 2 because the Padres advanced. But the year you're probably thinking of the year before,
maybe.
In the NLCS they lost. They were down the NLDS. They were down. No, NLCS.
No way they went that far.
They went to the NLCS for sure because the Nats knocked out the Dodgers, and remember in that 5-game series when Howie Kendrick hit the grand slam, and then the Cardinals, who was the NL East team that year, beat the Braves in game 5. Yes, no. The Cardinals beat the Braves in game 5 of the NLD. So the Cardinals didn't get blown out. They blew out the Braves. Remember, that was when game 5, Mark Melanson made that weird ass video where he's like, energy, like we need your energy. And they went down 10 runs in literally the top of the first inning.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of then.
So the Cardinals blew them out.
I was thinking of.
And then the Nats swept them in the NLCS. It was a horrible NLCS.
okay, then that's what I was thinking of. Then I take that back. Again, not a history podcast. So if you're listening to this,
shut up.
Shut
5
up.
years.
So
COVID had 5 years.
Yeah, if you're a Cardinals fan and you heard me say that, shut up. Regardless, this year they're 0.5 games behind right now. I don't know when that happened. I don't know. Honestly, I wouldn't be shocked that they just like rigged the website a little bit and like.
I was gonna say, yeah. Like you could convince me they just like added a couple of wins for the Cardinals, took them away from like the Cubs or like the Pirates. It's like who cares?
Yeah, like no one's looking at the Pirates record anyway, which by the way, they're bad still. Quick little update on the Pirates and the Diamondbacks. They're bad. So just get that out of the way. But I mean, the Cardinals are the type of team where it's like I wouldn't be shocked to see them win a wild card game. You know, like they have an ace, they have a decent enough lineup where I could see them put something together. Tyler O'Neill, Arenado, obviously Goldschmidt, Molina, obviously a veteran behind the plate. I feel like they have like the small tangibles to potentially win a wild card game. So if they can sneak in, I don't want to say it's completely, ridiculous to say that they can win that game.
Yeah, anything can happen. It's at the point now. It's kind of crazy how when we were like previewing the season or even early on the season when things were kind of going a little bit more expected, I guess you could say, we were like, it's crazy. Either like the Dodgers or the Padres could get knocked out with like one of their aces. Like it'll be the Braves with like Soroka or the Mets with DeGrom. Like now it's just obvious that whoever doesn't win the division out of the Giants or Dodgers is going to be playing a far inferior team in a 1-game playoff where they could, get sent home by the Reds or the Cardinals or, or obviously the Padres.
I mean, at this point, it's either going to be the Dodgers versus the Padres in the wild card game, or it's going to be the Dodgers. Oh, yeah. I mean, it's going to be the Dodgers. It's going to be the Dodgers versus the Reds or the Cardinals. So it's, I mean, if they're not like that powerhouse, like the NL West situation, like they're going to be playing a team that at most points in the season, we never considered for a playoff spot in the Reds and the Cardinals, So, I mean, but that's why you play the games. Who knows what happens?
Dude,
I was just going to say I just went on a rant about how the Cardinals have a chance to win it. And I was just going to say that there's no shot that they ever win that game, but you know what? It's why you play the games. That's why they put it on Fox. It's why they get Joe Buck to call those games, because they're good games, they're good baseball games, and anything can happen.
Listen, it is one baseball game. That's why I got so mad when the division was still, a possibility for like the 3 days before the Yankees started absolutely sucking. When people were like, "Oh, we'll just focus on the wild card game," I was like, I don't care that we have Garrett Cole. I don't care if you get that game at Yankee Stadium. I don't care about any of that. Anything can happen. We almost lost to the 85 win Twins in 2017 with Sevy on the mound.
Yeah,
who was a third in the Cy Young that year. So you never know what can happen. But back to just the NL for one more quick thing. Someone did a breakdown of like all the guys the Padres have traded for within the past like 2 years, where it was like Musgrove, Darvish, Snell, Clevenger, Adam Frazier. I want to say it was like 10 or 11 guys that they had on that list, and they did like all by their WAR, and they were all pretty disappointing besides Musgrove. Like I don't think anyone was that far over, maybe one. And it was like the players that they traded for those guys had a combined 167 years of control. So it's like, and like you don't like I don't want to say like it's a mistake, because like you look at it, like they still have a good farm system. They kept like really most of all their top guys besides maybe Luis Patino going in the Snell deal. And like, look, they're doing what they can to acquire frontline starting pitching and put talent around a talented core. You can't hate on that, but you see that number 167 years of control and kind of some of the WAR outputs that they've gotten out of these guys, and you're like, maybe this is why teams don't always just go all in like MLB The Show mode.
Yeah. I mean, when you hear something like that, you're kind of like, okay, the logic as a fan sort of starts to set in when you're like, oh, I just want, like, just trade your prospects. Like, just do it. Let's win now. Like, you kind of see it, because as much as prospects aren't guarantees, I mean, you would think that someone like Blake Snell or Yu Darvish is a guarantee, but they're not. They can have bad years. People can regress, and you can lose 160 years of control just to kind of sneak into the wild card game.
That's
that's crazy.
Stupid number to look at. Like it's like
167
years of control.
That's a laughable number. That's actually, I'm speechless at 160 years. That's decades of baseball teams. That might be more than the history of baseball itself. You could put the
that's older than Major League Baseball officially is. Yes,
you could put
that's older.
The history of Major League Baseball in the future that the Padres have given up. If that sentence makes sense.
It's like weird to think. My mind is a little bit in a pretzel right now, but yeah, it's crazy. I still respect. At the same time, I still respect it. I really do. They went for it.
I'm not gonna say they did the wrong thing at all, but that is someone should have done that math before they made that. Maybe like the Adam Frazier trade, being like, yo, we're at like 150 years of control right now. Be like, wait, what?
AJ Preller is officially the Sean McVay of Major League Baseball. That's a fact. That's trading everything.
Absolute lock. I just wanted to acknowledge over in the NL West, Giants did clinch a playoff spot, first team in baseball. Again, who the hell would have thought? But I mean, they have to be the front runners for the World Series right now. They've just astounded teams. And over on the Dodgers organization, Max Scherzer, 3,000 strikeouts. I mean, he is 37. He's probably going to be the Cy Young. I mean, we haven't seen someone pitch this well this late since Verlander did it before that. And probably before him, it was like when Randy Johnson was throwing off Cy Youngs when he was like 37, 38. So, I mean, it's just wild what Scherzer's doing. Put some respect on his name. I feel like people kind of forgot about him a little bit. I mean, I even said at the beginning of the year when I picked the Nationals to not be good, I said it's because I kind of expect Scherzer to regress a little bit. And I thought Strasburg was coming off an injury. So, other reasons. But Scherzer proved me wrong. He has been arguably the best pitcher in baseball this season. Shout out to him for 3K. I mean, that's just legendary. He's first ballot Hall of Famer.
Oh yeah, and that come to mind. You mentioned one of them, Verlander, Kershaw, and Scherzer. I feel like Scherzer kind of gets a little bit less love than some of the other two. Sometimes, maybe it's because the other two guys have MVPs. Scherzer's played on, more teams. He was the last one out of those guys to win. Oh no, I'm sorry. Kershaw was the last one to win a championship, but I guess Kershaw was in a couple World Series before too. So I don't know. I just feel like Scherzer doesn't always get as much shine as those other two guys, but he really deserves it. And I think it was John Heyman maybe posing this question about a week ago. Is Max Scherzer the best trade deadline acquisition ever? Like in terms of just instant impact and that half year control you get. I mean, the first guy that comes to mind for me personally is what CC did with the Brewers back in 2008, where it seemed like he was just pitching every other day and going 8-9 innings every time. But I mean, if you look at what Scherzer's done since the Dodgers got him, he's worked himself into that conversation for sure.
I mean, he literally went from a guy who's having a good year, and then he immediately went to the Cy Young candidate. Like, again, it was a pretty big jump. So I mean, it does depend on what happens over the next month or so with the playoffs and everything, and how he pitches in the playoffs. I feel like that always has a big part to do with the acquisition at the deadline and calling it historical and everything. But I mean, as of this point, it's been ridiculous.
Of course, yeah, for sure.
Anything else? I think for the most part we covered everything.
That's pretty much everything. What were your thoughts on the whole Sunday Night Baseball thing with Lindor and Stanton?
It's fog and a mirror to me. I think Lindor kind of thinks he's a tough guy. Baez thinks he's a tough guy too. I feel like you can't, after the whole thumbs down thing, I just feel like they have no legs to stand on. Yes, Lindor wound up having, it was the Francisco Lindor game, and that was great. I don't know. I've lost a lot of respect for him. I kind of like that Stanton stopped and talked to him. Everyone was like, "Oh, you just round the bases." Like, no, fucking talk shit. He's talking shit to you. I would have stopped running and gone up to him myself and just been like, got in his face about it. Like, just tell him to stop running was ridiculous. He was talking shit. Like, I don't know. I just don't have much to say about Lindor. I've lost a lot of respect for him this year. Just with the whole thumbs down thing and just him not playing well and being sensitive about it the whole year. Obviously, he has a game of his life when everyone wants to hate him the most. So it's hard. He backed it up that day, but overall this season he has not backed himself up.
I agree. And listen, part of me loves it. You and I are always on the same page where we like guys showing emotion. So like I do like Lindor and Baez doing that. But you said, how are you gonna, a week ago or 2 weeks ago, these guys are at the fans' throats, like saying, "Oh, we're gonna boo them back." Like, you're getting paid $350 million. You're hitting 220. Like you have been, I saw KFC from Boston made the argument like, "Oh, I'll take Lindor and Baez against these two injury-prone guys." Stanton and Judge have played more games than Lindor this year. Like, it's just like he's had an abysmal season in every way. And of course, in the classic 2021 Yankees way, he hits the game-winning home run where it's like every time something like this happens, it comes back to bite them. Whether it was Altuve when Judge did the shirt, whether it was Altuve, the fuck Altuve, like it's usually Altuve, but this time it was Lindor. But just so fucking like fake and two-faced, and he's bitching about like whistling as if it's some illegal sign stealing. They're at Citi Field, like it's not. I'm sure like whatever they're picking up because they had guys on second base, they're relaying it right away. Like and I loved Stan's post-game press. I don't know if you saw it. He basically was like, "Yeah, I just wanted to tell him like." If you got a problem with Wandy, like take it up with Wandy. Don't be fucking chirping at our entire team when you're rounding the bases. And he was like, I didn't do the best job articulating, so I'm rounding the bases, like trying to yell it at him. But like, so I love Stan for that. I think he's like a very real dude. I think he does a great job of handling New York and the pressure, especially for how much hate he's gotten. And Francisco Lindor, he's entertaining for the game of baseball, but he's just really a fucking loser at this point. That's all he is.
Yeah, I mean, I've done. I mean, we did a pretty heavy 180 on Bauer before all of the stuff, this shitty stuff happened. But I've done a pretty big 180 on Lindor too. I was very excited about him coming to New York. I thought he was a great fit, and then I just realized how sensitive he is about a lot of these things, and it's just like this is not a good indication of what the future is to come. For sure, if he's going to hit 3 home runs a game, I say what the hell you want, but for the most part, you haven't backed up your talk enough. With your play. Yeah. And in terms of the sign stealing,
I thought no, you go.
In terms of the sign stealing, like if people are gonna like start bitching about the Yankees whistling and stuff, don't tip pitches. Like it's that simple. Yeah. It's not the Astros thing. People are too sensitive to the word sign stealing now. If you're tipping your pitches, that's good baseball if we can pick it up. That it's
it was also it was also a noticeable difference. Like Taijuan Walker, you look at his start, he's getting roughed up early. I'm sure they caught on to the fact that he was tipping and he settled down. Like if you're going to tip pitches, like they're going to steal the sign. So the fact that Lindor was mad and like chirping like Glaber for that was just beyond weird. And yeah, no, I thought Lindor was going to be a perfect fit in New York. He is a horrific fit in New York. Like as much as I like to throw shade at the Mets and like guys like Pete Alonso for being a cornball. By the way, I got called Pete Alonso at the Dunkin' drive-thru yesterday. Scarring experience. I'm burning the new sunglasses I got. It's the worst compliment, like backhanded compliment I've ever gotten. It was this older woman, very nice. Ruined my day though. But Pete Alonso, like as much as you want to make fun of that being a cornball, like
why would you?
She pointed at me. She was like, "You look like Pete Alonso from the Mets." And I didn't know what to say. I kind of smiled back at her and gave like the hi. Like I've never gotten that before, and I'm fucking floored by it.
Some Mets fan was definitely in line in Dunkin', saw you go through the drive-thru and was like, "Yo, tell that kid he's from Twitter. Tell him he looks like Pete Alonso. He's gonna ruin his day."
I hope that's what happened. If that was a genuine thought she had, it's like, do I need to tan? Do I need to lose weight? I hope it's the sunglasses. I don't know what it is. It just sent my mind into an absolute fucking frenzy all day. But anyway, Pete Alonso, again, as much as I want to make fun of this guy, and I'm freaking out that I got called that I said that I look like him. He gets New York. Like he gets the fans. Like I think he makes sense. Lindor. No, he doesn't get it. And how about Matt Vasgersian? He validated all $341 million. Yeah, a 3-homer game with his team 4 games out of a playoff spot. That really validated that whole 12-year contract he got.
How many times has Stanton gone on a crazy run and everyone's like, we don't care. We don't care. Your contract still sucks. Like even now, like when we like him, when he is on our good side right now, we're still like, contract still sucks, dude. Like there is no way 1 home run game validates $340 million.
Contract is still terrible, and he's making a good amount less money than Lindor. It's a less length than Lindor, and he is a better player, or at least a lot better of a hitter than Francisco Lindor is. I won't say better player. Lindor does play a premium position very well, but you get my drift. Who's had the better year this year, Stanton or Lindor? It's Stanton by a mile.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That's a lot to get off my chest. I feel like I always go on a little rant at the end of the show and just
make it hurt a little bit. Get it off your chest. That's what this is. This is an anti-Francisco Lindor podcast, not anti-Mets, anti-Francisco Lindor.
Yeah, no, I like to, and you know what's crazy? I kind of like Baez more. Like Baez pisses me off, but at least he kind of owned up to it, where he was like, "Here's what we're doing," and like also Lindor was not the one that came up with it either. So it's just like, why is this guy who's probably only going to be here for a couple months answering for the guy that just got made the face of the franchise? Like I don't fuck with that at all.
Yeah. So I feel like Baez got bullied a little bit by him into doing something he didn't want to do.
Oh,
and now he had to backtrack it. Yeah.
Obvious. Yeah. No, obvious. And Baez has been great for the Mets too. He's been ripping the ball fucking a lot better than what Lindor's done.
Yeah. Much more valuable. Think that's everything. Big weekend for the Yanks, big whole week for the Yanks, big week for the Mets too. See what happens.
Couple weeks to the playoffs.
Let's go baseball. Let's go Yanks.
All right.
I want to end every podcast like that now. Let's go baseball.
Let's go baseball.
Let's go baseball.
Love it. All right. Later, skaters.
See you.